right? So that's.
It's like I got.
I mean, look at this guy.
Do a shout out for the Phillies.
I mean, I told him to wear his hat.
We're doing a
they're
podcast.
playing right now. I don't even know if they're winning right now.
I don't know.
I
Last
really
time I
felt.
checked.
Listen, I want to make it clear here that the Phillies are playing tonight, right? And for me to put a show and for this guy to come on my first episode, while the game is on, right? He walks up in a Phillies hat. And I felt terrible because I forgot that the Phillies were playing, because if anybody knows me, I'm a diehard Eagles fan. But I love the Phillies too. But
I haven't checked my phone. This game, like when I walked in, the Phillies were up 1-0. I have no idea what the score is now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know either.
Okay.
Right? So I would know more from you.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to the pros and cons of owning versus renting right now. Welcome to TaberneTalks. I'm Alex Taberné, and this is my first episode, so I am glad everyone's here, and we are ready to go. I have waited a long time to put this together, and I'm pretty excited. So every week I'm going to try to bring you the best guests that I can possibly bring you, information that I think you guys really need to know on what's going on in the mortgage market, also the real estate market. Philly is, Philly's still moving. But I think that we need to touch on some topics that will make you guys understand more on the behind the scenes. So I'm glad everyone's here. I need you to subscribe, get all your family to subscribe, friends, realtors, my past clients. I'm looking for everybody to be on so that we can, make this a success every week. And I thank everybody for being here. So. Without further ado, I have Chris Summers from Keller Williams. I've known Chris's name for a long, long time. He's a huge real estate person that's been in the business. I go back to 2005, 2006, and knowing his name when he was with Remax. I felt that he would be a great first guest to bring on to really give us a good idea on, what's going on in the Philly market. His insights, I think, kicking it off with him was a huge plus for us. So I thank you for being here,
Alex. I mean, it's an honor to be on your podcast, but to be the first episode, I mean that's even that much more of an honor. So thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
I appreciate that. So listen, tell us about yourself, because I think for people who don't know you, which if you don't know him in the Philly market, you haven't been in the Philly market. So, but I'm going to let him take it away from here.
Well, thank you. My name is Chris Summers. I'm co-CEO of the Summers team. We have 20 plus agents, a few full-time people, and our team consistently does, about 100 million more in sales, Alex, which to me I find very impressive. I love giving value back to our clients. This year, I think we'll be a little bit below that 100 billion, with volume being down.
Yep. Which is everybody.
Yeah, it's everyone. We're not down as much as the market is, which I think, that's a strong testimonial. I'm also past president of GPAR. But I've had my real estate license now for almost 20 years. So like time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, right. 20 years. So I started in 99. So I'm at 25.
I started in 2004. Also with nothing. I didn't have any
No wonder you look younger
family,
than me. There you go.
friends in the real estate industry. So, if you're watching this, I was in I don't want to give up my age.
Yeah, well,
but
listen, you already did by
I
saying
did.
that you're 5 years younger than the business. So
Yeah.
You're a young guy.
But like anyone can kind of get into the real estate industry when they want to, when they're ready. They can hop from career to career and do very well in it. But it does require, a lot of work, a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Some a lot of no's, rejection. But you could certainly have fun and be the entrepreneur and kind of build and innovate and so forth. And kudos to you, and what you've done in the mortgage industry too. You bet.
I think that we collaborating in this business is key right now. That we're in a recession, or they might not say we're in a recession, right? But I think we are. And that we are, as real estate agents and loan officers, have to stick together in order to keep going.
Correct, and it's interesting times right now in the real estate industry. We're definitely in a recession with transactions being down 40 to 50% year over year. I mean, prices have kind of held up, which is a little bit, bizarre, but that's good that that's happening. But, for realtors, mortgage people, title, home inspectors, appraisers, anyone in this industry, it's been tough. But, that's also provides the opportunity moving forward, in my opinion, too.
Okay, good. What do you think's going on in the Philly market? You see it every day. I mean, I'm in the mortgage business, right? So I deal with the clients and trying to get them approved, go through their financials and get them to closing smoothly. But you guys are really the front line, right? And with you being the front line for the last 20 years, you see obviously even more than me probably because you know what's going on. So you tell me what's going on the street right now in the Philly market as of today.
Well, I think a lot of realtors are on strike. Yeah, there's not a lot
Right.
of activity.
I know,
but I mean,
because I can't find any of them.
yeah, I mean, there's many that are working, but there's a lot of moving parts, in the market. I call it bird mania. Which really accelerated during COVID with people selling in Philly, moving to Bucks, Montgomery, New Jersey, Florida, fill in the blank, and that trend is still happening. The people like work at home, brought a tremendous amount, of new homeowners, to Philly, and during the major COVID years. It's still happening, not as much. Our market is really driven by the first-time home buyer,
Yeah.
and that, unfortunately, it kind of seems like, the question that we always ask is like, why lease when you can own? They've kind of reversed that, and they're like, well, why own when I could lease?
Right.
So there's been a little bit of a drop there. And then, I mean, in the mortgage industry, a lot of these people might want to move, but they're holding a rate of 3%,
Right.
4,
They don't
2.5,
right.
0.
Who wants to do
I
that?
used to joke like rates are at 0.
Yeah.
So like the inventory, is so low, number one. And then number two, the inventory that does exist, a lot of it's overpriced.
Right.
Where the seller is just, kind of hoping for something. The agent might have been desperate to get a listing. So when you take away, this like overpriced, low inventory market, the inventory is that much lower.
Yeah. Right.
So it's really tough. And then the buyer pool, is on the smaller side, for these reasons that we talked about. The investor market has really dried up too,
Really?
which is sad to
Now,
see.
how about the multifamilies? I'm getting a lot of clients that are reaching out to me, asking me about 2-3 unit, duplex, triplex. I want to live in one. I want to rent out the other one or rent out the other 2 or 3 quads.
Yep.
You seen a lot of that?
Not as much as we used to. I mean, again, like the mortgage rates, have certainly, made big differences in mortgage payments.
Yeah.
We just closed a $1 million new construction property out in West Philly, 4 units. One of our investor clients bought that.
Okay.
But for the investors, cash flow is a little bit tighter, with rates. And for the homeowner, like the FHA, for multifamilies is like, doesn't really work. With
Right.
Like,
Well, with the self-sufficiency test,
Correct.
which a lot of people don't realize.
like if you don't know that, you could accept a deal and it's dead
Right.
before,
Right.
whatnot.
If
But
you don't know what the self-sufficiency test is, the rent has to be higher than the mortgage payment, right? So the 3 units, let's say you're buying a triplex, the 3 units rent income has to be more than what the actual mortgage payment is. And the problem is with the rates being so high, the mortgage payments are so high that they're higher than what the rents are.
Correct.
So you don't pass the self-sufficiency test. And that's where, like Chris is saying, we're seeing a lot of dead deals.
correct.
So how do you beat that? You don't.
You really don't. I mean, the buyer just needs to have a larger down payment.
Yeah.
Where those conditions don't apply.
Yeah.
Sellers, I think I talk about the 3 P's. When it comes to like listing a property, pricing, patience, and perseverance. And a lot of sellers don't want to do anything with price. Well, if that's the case, be patient.
Right. And
and persevere. Things will get better. I mean, I think we are kind of like building up like a large pent up demand. Come next year. But obviously we need 2 catalysts. We need rates to get a little bit better, which they will.
Right.
We talk about this, and this is, I think, good for the mortgage people. Like, this is a great time to buy, because you don't have as much competition.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you are getting a little bit better of a sale price. 3, you get a little bit more inspection negotiations underway. And for the people that are fearful, oh, I'm buying when rates are high, I was like, well, think about this. If rates go up and you bought, you're happy.
Yeah.
Right? If rates stay the same, you're happy.
Yeah.
And if rates go down, call you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, refi. But
Oh,
seriously,
believe me, my phone will be going crazy.
yeah, I
No
mean,
doubt about
I
it.
think that's a good plan.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think the second part, which is
Well, what's the saying? Date the rate, marry the house, date
yeah,
the rate.
yeah,
Isn't that the big saying right
you
now?
can use that for
I try not to say that because
yeah.
it
I
sounds a
know
little cheesy.
it was good for the
you know?
first week.
Right. Everybody was like, I said, no, I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm not selling people into marrying the house and dating the rate. I think that is, you're burning yourself a little there because you don't know when these rates will come down.
Correct.
And these people will hold you to it.
Correct.
Right? So you got to watch what you say.
But I think that one of the main things that really isn't talked about that much, but I think it is, or starting to be, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think the main thing affecting the Philly market is like the number one factor when people are thinking about either to buy or sell
Yeah.
is public safety. And knock on wood, we got wood right here, with Sherelle Parker coming in as mayor, a new police commissioner, hopefully, some policies are put into place, things change a little bit because we really need public safety to improve, to have the people to A, stay in the neighborhoods, and B, for people to feel comfortable buying in the neighborhoods and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to live in Philly
Sure.
for the next 3 years or
Right.
5 years, or the people that are graduating at Penn or Drexel, maybe they're still leasing, but instead of them leaving Philly, like, hey, there's jobs here, things are happening, and public safety is getting better. So that's going to be, kind of like a catalyst outside of rates and whatnot going into 2024.
Do you see them still running out of the city? Like what, a lot of people, listen, when I talk to a lot of people, they say to me, I can't believe you live in Philly, right? You should live in Jersey. You should live in the main line. You should live in Montgomery County, wherever it may be. I can't believe you live in the city. And, I don't have a problem with the city. I've been here for 25 years myself. I built my business here. I do business in Jersey too, and sometimes in Delaware. So, but primarily, this is my market, right? So, do you still see them running out? Like, are they saying, I got to go to the main line, I got to go to Jersey, I got to go to Delaware because of what's still going on here? Or do you see any type of light of them saying they're going to come back in?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of sellers are obviously leaving the city for that reason. Number one, schools might be number two, but for the people that might be decided to live here, or they might work here but live outside too. But the foundation is here. Like I still live in the city. I don't want to live in the burbs.
Right.
So I know where there's one of me. I know I'm not a dinosaur.
Right.
There's many others. Like we still have the most amazing restaurants. Cafes, art, lifestyle. Instead of driving in, to see the Phillies or the Sixers or even the Eagles, take, carpool, Uber, however you want to get there. Like we have an amazing foundation with the city. And I think with a few changes that should come into play, that pendulum, does drift back and forth. And it will kind of drift back towards a lifestyle and people wanting to be in Philly and staying in Philly. The question is like, how slow is that pendulum going to swing and how far to the other side? But like back in the day, the saying was, don't be the last one to be in the burbs.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Right.
And I think
Everybody wanted to come in the city.
Things kind of go back and forth. So just, with new leadership, maybe there's some different things that happen where we're, bringing jobs in instead of losing jobs. All these things could very well happen. I believe that they will.
Right.
A lot of it is just intuition. But when that does, the demand for housing, will be high. And the inventory is going to be low more than likely, which gets back to the benefit of buying now.
Yeah.
Because as those rates drift down, the demand, the buyer pool just increases dramatically.
How do we ever get that inventory back? When the rates come down, everyone's going to buy again, right? So even more people than they are now.
Correct.
So that's going to buy up the inventory, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to bring it back then? Or is this just a never-ending cycle of no inventory for...
I mean, I think, like that spread for sellers is that starts to like decrease between that low thing, mortgage interest rate they have now and the higher one. I think that starts to loosen up. I think some sellers, just knowing that there's more activity, will list their property too.
Yeah.
I think there'll be more development, where we have, more single family homes or condos for sale, versus apartments for lease.
Right.
These are important things to bring more inventory to the market too.
Okay, good. I mean, I agree. I think the people with the 2 and the 3% interest rates will eventually list if those rates were in the 4s and the 5s.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that
Versus
might take 2 years or so, but
could take some time.
that's all part
Right.
of the
Right.
the equation. Combined with just the city getting better and people wanting to buy.
Now, people ask me all the time, what are the best neighborhoods in the city to go to, right? So, I live in South Philly, I'm in the Reserve, in Packer Park in that area, which is still a good area, right,
Yeah.
for the city. But I'm not going to say it's one of the top 3 neighborhoods in the city. I'm sure you tell me, like if a buyer's coming in the city right now saying, what are the top 3 neighborhoods in your opinion? Where should they go where they feel safe
Right.
and they're getting a somewhat of a good deal? What's your feeling?
I mean, I've always been a little bit biased towards the River Wars area because
Right.
I live there and
Right.
I've owned real estate offices
Yeah.
there too. But
Yeah.
like, if you take City Hall and just kind of draw a circle around it, I think there's opportunities in all of those 4 corners.
Okay.
Depending on maybe where people are commuting to work, maybe their preference of lifestyle for that specific neighborhood. But in my mind, I've always loved like the Northern Liberties, Fishtown,
Okay.
South Kensington
Yeah.
circle.
I know where it's at, sure.
And I think in terms of future growth and opportunity, I would say, South Kensington's probably number one. It's a small zip code. There's still tons of like vacant land and opportunity for development. I think the American Street corridor, could be a huge catalyst, for commercial activity, more recreation. It's still, even though there's been massive development, it's still underdeveloped. Whereas Fishtown, was kind of maxed out,
Right.
in most of its parts. But like in the first time home buyer market, I love Port Richmond.
Okay.
I've always owned several investment properties, for lease there. When you take a look at Richmond to Aramingo,
Yeah.
Somerset to Allegheny, and even north of Allegheny,
And they're still building there, I'm sure.
there's not a lot of like vacant land, but like where there is, it is kind of getting
building.
some infill.
Right.
But like the community, just the positivity of being in that community, the people that have been there, there's a high percentage of owner occupancy,
Okay.
and the community involvement is big.
Cool.
And I think people love to live there once they're there. There's more like restaurants opening up here and there. There's like the Gold Street and there's the Richmond Street corridor. I think there's going to be more stuff happening there.
Right.
Yeah, and they still be able to get a really nice property for 250, 300, low 300s.
Okay.
Like,
Which is a good price.
it's a great price,
Right.
And you're close
That's
to
the sweet spot.
Fishtown, and so like for a lot of first time home buyers, are kind of like they can't do 4 or 5, but they could do 250, 3.
You can still get in there.
That's a great area.
What are
to look
taxes
at.
going on around there in Port Richmond?
I
right
mean, the city might be a little bit behind, knock on wood, on assessments in Port Richmond. So they might be, 1,500, 2,000, a year, 20, depending on if they've
That's
caught
gold.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they'll catch up. But
Oh, sure. How about Rittenhouse Square? What's going on over there?
I mean, Rittenhouse Square is always going to be Rittenhouse Square.
Right.
It's the best square,
Yeah,
in the city, and, so for the people that, want to be, maybe go to the
Are they
Laurel.
overpaying, you think, over there?
I don't think so because, hey, man, it's your lifestyle. I mean, to be able to walk to park,
Yeah.
or just go to the festivals, in Rittenhouse Square or all the
Right.
great restaurants. Like lifestyle matters, and it still matters.
Right.
Yeah, Rittenhouse Square is always going to be Rittenhouse Square. So, for the people that want to come in, and have that lifestyle, they're going to get bored in the burbs. That market is going to continue to do well too.
Good. I mean, I think that as time moves on, prices may start to come down in those higher end neighborhoods, right? Rittenhouse Square, even Center City. Some of these condos I've seen going a little bit higher. and they should start to maybe come down, or what do
Yeah,
you
but
think?
if you think about it, like a 10% move on $1 million plus property, yeah, it was a good chunk of change.
Right.
Whereas 10% on 300,000,
It's a different
it's
story.
the same percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a big difference. And
Yeah.
yeah, to get a nice cost basis, whether you're in that top bracket or the lower bracket, I think you're right. Like the opportunity, yeah, is now, Alex, for
That's good.
across the board. But yeah, I mean that market is kind of having its own kind of slowdown for
Right.
a variety of issues. But I mean, I guess when it comes to public safety, though, yeah, like people might tend to purchase in the high rise building, yeah,
To
versus
stay
like
away from the street
the
level.
single family
Right,
new
right.
construction, even
Right.
though it's 4,000 square
Right,
feet,
right.
yeah, with parking, like the drive for those taller, which I mean, people ran away from them during COVID,
Yeah.
yeah, but like the demand's going to be there for that, and I do believe the lifestyle is going to come back.
So you're feeling on, I think personally, a 2018 and 2019 market I loved. I thought that, 17, 18, and 19 were normal markets, right? There wasn't any craziness of, all this pandemic buying and the rates went crazy and 50,000 and 100,000 over and, 30 bids on one house. It was a normal time, in 17 and 18 and 19.
Correct.
Then we hit that pandemic March of 2020 and it was like, all hell broke loose and we saw, all kinds of madness with the housing market. So you're feeling on getting back to that 18 market or 17 market. Can we ever get back there? Is it the leadership that will get us back there in the city itself, or is it truly just the rates that'll get us back there? How do we return just to that normal where there's not 20 bids on one house?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, we need, on the financial end, rates to come down. We need city council, the new mayor, to do some things that will make the city better.
Okay.
We need, policies that will bring in more high-paying jobs to the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
There's job growth, but most of it's kind of like your lower income jobs, which
Right.
is fine.
Right.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that they could do, to get the bigger companies to come in here, instead of Jersey, Bucks, Montgomery. The tax structure's got to be altered a little bit. Michael Nutter got ahead of that.
Yeah.
And things were happening.
Sure.
So it does, to me, it's not going to take that much to get like a little common sense. Like think about the tax revenue. It's got to be way down.
Yeah.
The transfer tax being so way down.
Right.
That tax abatement change that was made, that was not a smart move. Development is way down. People think that it's really high. It's not.
Right.
The building permits are way down. So to get some kind of pro-growth policies that make sense, that benefit everyone, combined with rates,
Okay.
we'll go. But getting back to the COVID days, I remember being at a Sixer game
Right.
that night in a suite.
Yep.
And it was that night where
That
they're
they
like, we're
announced
going to
all-
suspend
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And we're like, oh, this
Yeah.
is
It's like sports is going
surreal.
away.
And,
But,
and not
I
for
remember.
nothing, to put a plug in the GPAR, for a little bit of time, real estate was not essential
No.
during that time. And if
No.
you think about it, how can like housing and shelter
Yeah. That was essential.
be
obviously.
not essential?
Right.
So GPAR, combined with Alan Dom at the time, they did a lot of work behind the scenes to get that essential. And then once that happened,
Yeah.
then like the floodgates
Right.
really started to
Well,
happen.
luckily we have a job where you can work from home, right? So,
Correct.
we're blessed that we could do that.
Correct. I still went into the office though.
I mean, guys like you,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Because you're an old school guy.
I was the
right?
only one in the office. I think it
that's
was-
what we are.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
safe.
you didn't want to stay home.
It was probably safer at the office. It was just me.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about because I was going crazy at home too, right?
Yeah.
But we were in the middle of a refi boom where the rates were 2%, 2.5%. I couldn't even breathe.
Yep.
I was hiding in the bathroom, trying to take
Great
phone
time
calls.
for mortgage people.
Yeah, it was a great time, but you wanted to be in the office. You still wanted that human interaction. The problem is when we went into the office, no one was there. It cleaned up, right? So it was only a couple hardcore guys like you.
Correct.
The veterans, the guys that've been through the business who just said, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to work anyway, and it doesn't affect me. If I got to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask, but I'm still coming in the office. So that those times are obviously, hopefully, gone for good, and we start to turn the corner here and see a normal market. come back in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, in a normal market, it would probably be people going to the office too.
Right.
Because if you think about it, like the
Yeah.
market was so strong and you could work from your basement or at home. And, fast forward, this is including myself too. During that time, people, I think, started to develop habits, that might have been, a little bit, it makes you a little bit lazier. You're quote, working from home, but are you working from home?
Right. Wow.
Or are you doing something else? Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah, but I think to really kind of make that comeback, whether you're in real estate or wherever, some people will work the best at home, but they might be like 10%, or maybe it's that 80-20 rule. Yeah, but what about the other 80%?
Yeah.
That's the opportunity to kind of get back. This is for maybe newer people watching it, or maybe some older people. Like you're gonna get that mojo back. By going to the office, whether you're in real estate or any industry. Unless you're just the expert working at home, doing Zoom, Slack, or whatever. Like, we're still doing a ton of Zoom calls. And, and I have a love-hate relationship.
Right. Was never a fan of Zoom.
Right.
So Zoom, it's a little weird. You're talking to somebody through a screen. The personal touch is not there. Not like this anyway. You can't. Listen, when I had my office, the loan officers would come in and, we would go over scenarios face to face and how to try to get Chris Summers' deal through, right? Like,
that's a good conversation.
Right. Exactly, right? He's a big realtor in the city. We got to get this deal through, right? He's, he's doing a lot of business, and how do we figure it out? That was the beauty of having an office, on that. So, So I think hopefully we return to a normal market. All right, so Chris, let's talk about newer agents maybe trying to get into the market right now, right? So me and you have seen a lot of people come in and out of this business, right? I've gone through so many loan officers, friends, personal family that I've gotten licensed. Some of my colleagues back from 01, 02, we see them come and go, right?
Yep.
And a lot of them approach us to say they want to do what me and you do, right? We want to be you, right? How do we get to the 25-year mark or the 20-year mark? It's not easy to get there. So, what's your advice right now? First of all, what's going on in the realtor world as far as, are they staying or are they going? And then number two, if they are coming in as a new agent, what's your advice for them?
Well, there's a couple answers in there because there's some moving parts with that, Alex. But like, as past president of GPAR, I was president in 2019. Yeah. So like, the new licensees was, a lot, right? So I would typically do like an intro, new member orientation. And typically I would say like the over under for new realtor is 2 years. Yeah, and that's the truth.
Now, what year was that? Is that a long time ago?
That was 2019.
19. Okay.
But I think that 2-year term is like probably pretty safe in no matter what market one is in.
Right. And except for the pandemic market, because they were making money then, right?
Correct. And maybe it was 2.5 years.
Right.
Or 3.
We'll go 3. I'll meet you at 3.
Yeah. So, but I think the best time to enter a market as a new realtor or relatively new is during tough times.
Yeah.
Like if someone entered the market during the financial crisis or now, like what happens? Like you have to work.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you have to like build habits. You have to meet with people. You have to like think outside the box a little bit. Yeah. When things are going great, okay. The deals might be falling into your lap, or you get a deal here, and you get a listing, it sells in a day. Although new realtors, struggle getting listings in the beginning too.
Right. They need a good mentor. You should be on a good team, maybe.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But I think, the big picture, this is like the best time to step it up. Or if you've been in the business a few years or longer, this is the time to like dig deep, because like the people that kind of make it through this period, similar to the financial crisis, will come out stronger.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's like, in my mind, it's survive and thrive.
Yeah.
Or you could just survive if you want. But yeah, that's the other thing. Like, like the trend is obviously towards teams. It's been that way for a while.
Right.
So like if you're new or if you're newer, I would look to join a team. I could put a plug in for the Summers team, or at least be at an office, where there's a lot of activity.
Sure.
Where you can kind of get a mentor or two or
Like
three.
like a KW maybe or something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, KW
Right.
it has like the top market share in the city now. So
Yeah.
it always comes down to like he or she or brokerage that has the most listings wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're new, you want to be around where there's listing activity, open house activity. From listings, basically more lead opportunities happen. That combined with, I love the saying, you become who you surround yourself with. So if you're just like a solo agent at some small office, that can work, but you're gonna really
You gotta grind.
need to like
You gotta grind.
do a
Sure.
lot,
Right.
versus kind of like just surrounding yourself with some mentors, some influencers, and so forth.
Okay.
But there's a lot of realtors that have already dropped out from GPAR.
Yeah.
I'd say about 10%.
Is that maybe burnout because they've been doing it so long now, and then they went into an easy market in 21 and 22 or 2021, 22, and now we're back to a hard market, and they're like, I can't work like this.
I'd say it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Where people they had some transactions, maybe some high sale prices where now, like you could even get some transactions, but there's more, like when you're in a tougher market, there's also a higher percentage of those deals might not go through.
Right.
Inspection issues, people have buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Sellers get kind of nutty. I've seen some appraisal issues starting to come in.
We know.
And that will
That's going to
those
come more
lenders.
and more. Yeah.
That will
And we only have so much power, so I'm defending us kind of here.
Yeah. So it's not, but I think that more will drop out in 2024 due to the fact that it's a continuing education year.
Right.
So people might be like, you know what? I'm not going to take these classes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to,
Well, a lot of them can't even afford maybe
pay the extra dues.
or whatever it is, right?
So what happens, like if you're new coming in or if you're existing, that kind of just gives you the opportunity to like, kind of rebound a little bit more.
And how much marketing do you think we should be doing right now? And this goes for loan officers too, because, listen, us as loan officers are being approached by realtors more than ever now to help with marketing because of what's going on, right? There's not that many deals right now. So, you're being approached with Zillow, you're being approached with Realtor.com, you're being approached with all these lead sites and let's do mailings and let's go on this and that. And, what you're feeling on all that. Is that the key right now to try to make it through this kind of market, or should I, as a loan officer, maybe back off and say, well, we shouldn't be doing that much marketing because we don't know what's happening?
Well, I mean, I can give you my experience during the financial crisis.
Yeah.
It's like we stepped up our marketing efforts. And a lot of that, was like work that we did that really didn't cost money. That was like, blogging, shooting, videos, creating content and so forth, which is more time versus money. And I think now I do like the saying, small things done consistently over time lead to big results.
Sure.
So you have to kind of like determine what those things are. It could be social media. It could be, co-marketing, realtor and lender.
Right.
But the trick is to be consistent with it. Number one. Number two, build an infrastructure where people actually see it.
Yeah.
Versus just doing something and not following through on it, and then continuing to do consistently whatever that is.
Right.
And just kind of be patient for things to have a return.
Right. And that's not easy, obviously.
Not easy at all. Especially with there's not as much money coming in, but you have more expenses going out. So it's more.
Well, are you a spend money to make money type of guy, or are you? A lot of loan officers right now are saying, you know what, we're not closing anywhere near what we closed. So, let's step back from what we've been doing and, let's really look at our expenses and, should we, we made a lot of money the last 3 years, right? You should have banked the money that you made. I hate to say,
True.
And that's a hard truth for a lot of loan officers and realtors who
Correct.
blew through all their money and don't have anything left, right? So,
Correct.
So if you did save that money, should you be going all out right now and double down and mark it in, or should you back off and say, you know what, let's ride this out until February or March of next year when the spring market kicks back in and hopefully, rates come down? What's your feeling there?
I mean, I think it's like a little bit of both. I mean, obviously, when the market pulls back, and if you have a P&L, right, I'm sure mortgage people,
We do.
realtors have it.
Yep.
You'll be able to kind of recognize pretty quickly, what worked or what makes sense of what was maybe some fluff that you tried out and you didn't,
Right,
it
didn't
wasn't.
work.
So
Yeah,
this is the
we got a lot
time,
of that. Yeah.
to like eliminate the fluff, adjust it, and really try to hone in on what did work or what might work, and then double down and triple down on that. And if you don't know, I think then it's the opportunity to cut back on the expenses that didn't work for sure, and be willing and consistent maybe with some other things. Maybe it's not as much as a financial, maybe it's time related because you're creating content, but you don't want to be doing nothing. But as soon as you kind of see some things, kind of like, come in, like maybe like with realtors, we might send out just sold cards. You can co-market with lenders on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
If things start to come in, as soon as you get some results, then double and triple down.
Right. Just you got to see those little results
Correct.
first before you go all in because you don't know.
Correct.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that as a new agent, if you get in right now, I think you got to be with a guy like this. You can't, right? You can't wing it. You can't. It's not $1 million listing. It's not all these shows that you see where everything is rosy pretty. I think you need to get with a good mentor to get you through, and that's how I looked at some of the loan officers that I've mentored in my past. Is you really have to take care of them and show them that you care and how to market and how to like you said, thrive through something like now and not
Correct.
just survive.
Correct.
So I'm a big fan of that. Predictions for a 2024 market. What are you thinking? I mean, everybody has their own predictions. My prediction is we see low rates, by next summer. Not low as to 3% and 2%. That's gone. We're never going to see that again. I think that was just a fluke, and unless you go into another pandemic, which knock on wood we don't. But I do think we see, sixes maybe, even possible fives.
Right,
we
right.
could see by the end of next year,
Right.
which will spark things. But overall, what's your prediction?
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense that rates will be lower right before an election, right?
Right.
Right. So
It makes everybody look good.
yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. We'll forget about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or
It's all
whatever.
rosy.
Hey, but we're at
Right.
6%.
Right. Everything's going great.
And I agree with you with that. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and if you think about it, like jokes aside,
Yeah.
like it does seem like inflation is at its tipping point.
Sure.
Yeah, there's some other economic things that are kind of coming into play where 3 out of 4 rates will be lower. And if you believe rates are lower, well, then obviously activity will be
go
more
up.
and
Right.
prices there will be higher.
Right. Because
Yeah.
everybody's bidding again.
Correct. So,
Right.
and I wouldn't expect like a huge bump up, but like, if we're talking Philly, like maybe that's another, 5 to 10%.
Sure.
So again, that kind
is big.
of gets back to the point of buying now. Yeah, if you're waiting for rates to drop, rates to drop.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But yeah, I would buy into that. Yeah, because like everything else, I think with the prediction is predicated on where rates go.
Right.
Like if inflation continues to go higher,
Yeah.
the economy really kind of dies, or inflation just goes through the roof.
Yeah.
As rates go higher, well, real estate activity is just going to
Right.
be harder.
Right. Which is what we're seeing right now.
Correct. So yeah, I'm with you on that 2024 prediction.
I could see that.
And I also think, and this could just be more, belief kind of thing, is like obviously, being past president of GPAR, I really wanted Alan Dom to be mayor.
Yeah.
I think he would have done the best with public safety
Sure.
by far. But yeah, for the people,
I don't think there's a realtor that didn't vote for Alan Dom, right?
I hope not. If they did,
They're in
don't
trouble.
let me know.
They would never come on my show and say it out loud, right? So we're going to move on with that.
I do think Sherelle Parker, like maybe she is the right fit, and I do think
Yeah.
maybe the new mayor, a city council
Yeah.
kind of new mix. Yeah, I think I do have confidence with, and the new police commissioner I like too. That things can kind of be put into place pretty quickly, where that will be a benefit or a catalyst to our market too.
Right. So by the end of 2024, we could see definitely more of a light than we're seeing right now overall.
I mean, 100%. I mean, could it get much worse than it is now? Probably not.
I don't know that.
But yeah,
I
but-
don't.
but
I said that 6 months ago.
That's true.
Right. And look where we're at now.
And things typically do get worse before it gets better.
Sure.
So like, the fourth quarter, we're going to have
I mean, is it going to be a long, cold winter? I don't know.
Yeah.
it's a 50-50 shot there because something could happen major out of nowhere. See, something that, listen, the pandemic came out of nowhere, right? We didn't know that was going to happen. Boom, rates plummeted. You get into a conflict here in the Middle East, which unfortunately I'm watching over the last 2 days, and it's terrible what's going on over there. I feel sorry for those people because they're helpless, a lot of them, and even some of Americans are being killed now, which I saw on the news on the way over here. Something major like that happens does affect the markets. It affects the 10-year Treasury, and the Treasury could come down. And actually, I always hate to say this, but when you go into some type of war or something major like that, it's actually good for mortgage rates.
It is.
And it's terrible.
It's terrible to say. But yeah, I mean, I was depressed. I mean, today's Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the tragedy happened over the weekend.
Right.
We're just shooting those, prayers to Israel and whatnot. And it's horrible. And,
Right.
and those large, political or geopolitical.
It could affect something right off the bat.
Obviously, that is always the case where things could be a little bit different.
Yeah.
A lot of that was applicable. Definitely, for the United States at that time, with the financial crisis.
Yeah.
All the banks going under. That
I remember.
a tough time. TARP.
Yeah.
And so forth. So time
Where
will
were
tell
you in
that.
2008? Were you for you to survive 2008? And everybody asked me, Alex, is this a worse market than 2008? It's got to be worse. How did you make it through 2008? What do you mean? 2008, I don't think is as bad as to what we're going through over the last 6 months to a year right now. This is a different type of bad.
Correct. I mean, for the real estate industry, we're in a recession, right? But the consumers and the sellers and the equity is not.
Right.
So that's good. In 2008,
People were still buying.
With the transactions were still happening. Like we specialized in short sales back then.
So you were killing it.
If you Googled Philadelphia short sales, you probably saw my articles.
Right.
And we would get calls, and those people, it was a huge accomplishment to do a lot of short sales settlements.
Were those your best years, you think, as far as volume?
They were. I mean, put it to you this way: during like a tough climate,
Yeah.
we did okay during those years. And I would say in our industry, it's obviously harder this time because there's less transactions. Now, back then, for a seller, like if you didn't sell in this year and you waited a year, you were down another 10, 15%.
Right.
So I think
It's a different situation.
It's a different situation affecting different people,
Yeah.
but still tough markets.
Yeah. Yeah. And tough markets make tough people. Right. So that's.
It's like I got.
I mean, look at this guy.
Do a shout out for the Phillies.
I mean, I told him to wear his hat.
We're doing a
they're
podcast.
playing right now. Well, I don't even know if they're winning right now.
I don't know.
I
Last
really
time I
felt.
checked.
Listen, I want to make it clear here that the Phillies are playing tonight, right? And for me to put a show and for this guy to come on my first episode, while the game is on, right? He walks up in a Phillies hat. And I felt terrible because I forgot that the Phillies were playing because if anybody knows me, I'm a diehard Eagles fan. But I love the Phillies too. But
I haven't checked my phone. This game, when I walked in, the Phillies were up 1-0. I have no idea what the score is now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know either.
Okay.
Right? So I would know more from you.
Okay.
All right. So let's go to the pros and cons of owning versus renting right now because renting, a lot of people are telling me that these rents are actually higher than buying. But then some people are telling me, no, I'm going to buy because the rent is through the ceiling now. And it's, there's a war going on. So
yes,
who wins?
I think ultimately the people that are in the industry will win. And I think the city ultimately will win too. The developers have done extremely well with the build to rent model, especially for these large buildings. And why not lease now versus own, when there's looting going on, there's public safety, and you could be in a building where there's a doorman and you have amenities like a pool and a gym. You're not paying a condo fee. There's cool people in there. You have a social life and whatnot. But the rent prices are high, and maybe you're in one of those buildings or in another building.
I'm talking South Philly even.
Yeah,
the rents
if
are
you think about it,
$3,000 a month over there.
all the policies city council did to protect the renter did the exact opposite because everything that they did, the unintended consequences is rent prices are higher.
Right.
And the rental supply is lower with the exception of these like large apartment buildings. But I do believe that tenant, Alex, that's saying why own when I could lease will turn around and say, why lease when I can own again? And that in and of itself could be a huge pent-up demand, for our market.
Because the leases are so high.
The leases are so high,
Yeah.
and public safety starts to get a little
Gets
bit better.
right.
And the people are like, hey, like one of the benefits, there's many benefits. It's like as soon as you make that first mortgage payment, you're building equity, number one.
Sure.
Number two, people need tax deductions.
Yeah.
So even if your interest rate is higher, you have a higher mortgage payment, it's still probably lower than your rent amount.
Right.
You get your mortgage interest deduction.
Yeah, you get the write-off.
That's not going away anytime soon.
No.
If you have a $2,000 a month mortgage payment, where essentially most of that is interest, let's say it's $3,000. Yeah, multiply that by 12. Yeah, that's $24,000 mortgage interest deduction, or $36 if it's $3,000 a month. You're not getting any of that if you're leasing. So to have the opportunity to build wealth, kind of help you out. Everyone needs tax deductions, even the first-time home buyers.
I know.
And they're not getting that if they're using the standard deduction. Combined.
They used to get that. Remember that $8,000 tax kick at the end of the year you would get if you were a first-time buyer?
Yeah.
It was $16,000 maybe at one point.
We might need to do that again.
That was a big thing.
That was a big thing. And that kind of came into play back in the financial crisis.
Right.
Too.
That was big. I remember saying, they're like, I'm going to get $16,000 when I go to do my taxes. And they did.
Yeah. So I do believe that mentality will, again, it's that pendulum. And then once that happens, like the first-time home buyer market does fuel the rest of the market, in Philadelphia. So, and a lot of times those people will buy anyway because, the 250 to 300 or 200 or 150 to 300 is a little bit more immune to these rates increases. But, when the rates do get better, I think that will really kind of
what's a shame is that I'll have buyers come to me and we approve them for 250 or 200 because that's all they approve for.
Right.
And, it's kind of like, what are you going to find them for 200 or 250?
Port Richmond.
Right.
I mean, there's not too many other places.
There's nowhere to go.
Maybe Grace Ferry, certain parts of South Philly. There's a tiny condo.
Yeah.
But like
that's a shame.
It is a shame because
250 is still a sweet spot for a first-time buyer.
Correct.
And if you can't even get in at 250, it's you got to bump them to 3.
Correct.
Now you got to bump them to 325 or 350 in order for us, and then you're squeezing those debt ratios up. Which
and that's the problem. Like with these rates, like it's squeezing a lot of people out of either the market or out of areas where that they would buy there if they could afford it.
Yeah.
So otherwise, they're leasing until that changes.
Yeah.
So when that changes, boom. We're the city is back in business,
right?
Not just realtors.
If you didn't see, they just
evil. Realtors are not evil. Yeah, people think that we're evil.
I would never say that.
And maybe some
For
are.
the record, I'll say this louder into the microphone. Realtors are not evil.
Right. And not
they have worked with me for 25 years. They're why I'm here.
And the consumer, they need the dream team. They need like a great realtor. They need the great lender. It makes the experience 10 times better.
It's true.
Instead of being stressed out the whole time, they have less stress because they have a great team that's helping them out through the process.
I pitch local. Okay, my whole, if you go on my social media, everybody knows all I say is you got to stay local, right? You got to stay local with your realtor. You got to stay local with your loan officer. You got to stay local with your inspector, right? Everybody, right? Keep it local because once you start going to people in Chicago and California and Florida, you're losing a lot there. And I get a lot of good realtors like Chris that call me and say, they got pre-approved through a bank or through a credit union that we have no idea who they are. They're centralized wherever.
They don't give a fuck. Excuse the language.
Well, I mean, it's true.
They don't give
I mean, you're allowed to say that.
F.
No. I mean, I was going to say that. You took it out of my mouth. It's true. And then we wind up picking it up and taking the deal. And Green Tree's local, right? We're only in South Jersey, PA, and Delaware, and a few other select states, Florida. A few select, but we're local. Like the underwriting's here, the processing is here, the owner is here. So if there's a problem, it's taken care of on the spot. How important is that?
I mean, put it to you this way: I'm on the listing side more than the buy side.
Yeah,
I'd say 9 times out of 10, where there's a financing issue on the buyer side, and I'll ask the question from day one. Like, hey, how come you're not using a local lender?
Right.
And then people are like, oh, well, la, la, la. Like, well, can you at least get a backup, to be ready if something, falls through?
Right.
And people, and sometimes people have actually switched, because it really was important for, the seller. I'm not going to accept a deal with, Chase from New York. I don't want to say any names or.
Well, this is what happens.
Yeah, or
I
whatever.
mean,
But like those deals that I've had issues on the listing side have been with buyers using out of state mortgage companies.
there you go.
And,
That's big.
And,
It's
and
big.
The percentage of terminations or
Yeah.
delays or issues or
Yeah.
stress or agita, like why even go? And if you're a buyer's agent, like you got to plan ahead a little bit more, and make that experience better for your client. The experience is going to be better with Alex at Green Tree.
Sure.
Or any
Because
local
we're-
lender.
Any local lender.
Yeah, but definitely,
The local
Right.
is the key.
Right,
You
right.
know, I think
it's like instead of Attorney General AG, it's Alex at Green Tree.
I mean, and you can keep saying that. You know, I mean, you get to.
Alex
I mean, even tonight when you go home, you go to sleep, you say that.
at
You know,
Green Tree.
you memorize that. You wake up tomorrow morning, and you say it to your first client that you speak to.
Exactly.
You say
Call
Alex at Green Tree.
Tree.
It's perfect.
Fair enough.
So, and I like that. But I mean, I think that's what I've been pitching all along on, and it's not a pitch. It's the truth.
It is the
You know,
truth.
I've seen too many horror stories where people are just running to me saying, "I got to close in a week from now."
Yep.
8 days. The guy called me out of nowhere, says I don't qualify. I'm declined. They didn't look at my income. They never knew I had a second job, and they thought it was for 2 years. I mean, it's crazy stuff that I see.
over
I mean,
and over.
as we go through these shows, a few of them I'm going to do a Q&A just because I have so many questions that I get all week on people that get declined for this and for that. And I think that the public doesn't know. I send it out to realtors like you once a week. Like you said, you get my emails. I send out a question and an answer email every week to probably 100 to 200 select realtors that I know care and like it. And then on those questions and answers, it tells you pitfalls of what I see every week. Where the lender didn't verify large deposits. They didn't look at that the person never filed taxes, and they found out they didn't file taxes, and then they have to pay a payment plan, and things that could kill deals.
Yeah.
So
that happens way too often.
Way too often, and a lot of cold feet right now. How many people are you seeing getting cold feet? They go under contract. The numbers were never given to them, right? The payments are a lot higher than what they were told. Then they get the real numbers, and then they get cold feet, and they don't want to do the deal.
Yeah, it could be a little bait and switch sometimes with a rate or closing costs, and you need to have that due diligence up front. The more you have up front, the higher chance of success at settlement for sure.
Yeah. So in closing, Chris, you are, you've done a great job. I first of all appreciate you coming on because this guy is a wealth of knowledge. He knows his stuff. And I knew picking him would be a huge success for our first show. So I'm happy that you came. Any closing comments for the gist of this program or tonight's episode was the state of the Philly market, right? And because everybody wants to know what's going on in Philly right now. Like they know what's going on in Jersey, they know what's going on everywhere else, but what do you think here? Well,
I mean, Philly has a lot of moving parts, number one. Two, I think as a result, the opportunity, is big. Obviously, the pendulum is kind of shifted towards should I be in Philly? But I know, and I think most people watching this know that pendulum is going to switch back.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to buy, to live in the city is there. I think the investment opportunity is going to come back strong. If you're a new realtor, you want to join a team, contact the Summers team.
there we go.
You're a consumer, you need some financing, contact you. But I think, where...
And that's the TaberneGroup.com, my website.
Yeah, where there's blood on the streets, there's opportunity.
Right.
When there's a recession, that's where, millionaires are made from. So whatever that is, whatever someone is, focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Doing small things consistently over time. Whoever you are, it could be working out.
Yeah.
Could be, I do a lot of self-development with reading.
Good.
Yeah, these are the things that we can kind of focus on. And I struggle with this a little bit myself, but when I'm kind of harnessed, good things could really happen. So if you're watching this, the world is your oyster.
Go on this guy's social media. He's not playing around. He has good material. It's organic. It's not, your usual stuff. He really is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to real estate. So you definitely want to pay attention to him.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I talk about real estate, finance, investing, and try
Right.
to
Yeah.
keep it there, and
Yeah.
play nice in the sandbox. But I think that's important, in our industry, is provide content and information that's valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, good things happen too.
Right. And are the Phillies going to win? Or I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight. But I'm happy they're splitting this series no matter what, even if they lose. But if they're up 2-0,
but the Eagles are 5-0.
Yeah,
So, we are heading to the Super Bowl is what I feel.
hopefully the Sixers can kind of get their shit together. Excuse the language. It's a lot of drama there.
I know you're a big Sixers fan,
I have
too.
season tickets. I want the value to
know.
go higher instead of like.
We will pray for you on that too. So.
Namaste.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week. Every Wednesday, 9 a.m. is when I air. So go subscribe on YouTube, because I really want to make sure that you capture the information that we explain every week. And I will see you soon. Thank you again.